Okay. So this is goodbye. I've only had 7 hours of sleep in 4 days. I'm only just now beginning to be able to eat again. I've had tremendous heartbreak, and it sucks. The art on this channel, everything that made this channel possible, the love of my life has left me, and we're on the path to getting back together. And it's a weird, rocky path. She's with another person right now, and going to California for a month, and that's scary. It's not though. Like, and I'm not gonna open the chat because this is really goodbye. I spent too much time on this channel, and I didn't spend enough time on her. Just like I always spend too much time on me and not enough time on her. I did things that hurt her, and things that aren't me. And this channel just always got in the way. I was finding way better content, and I liked the channel. It was a hassle at times. I would yell at her at times because my recording wasn't my recordings weren't always great. I would hear noises in the background, or I'd be in the middle of recording, I'd hear a noise in the room or something. I'm like, shut up, like, you got to let go of those angers, and I'm letting go. You can't yell, you can't cry over spilt milk, essentially. And this is the realest real talk it gets. I was high on life not even a full 24 hours ago. I got to see her again after 4 long days. And I got to spend the best day of my life with her, but I had to let her go because I know that she needs the vacation that she's going on. And none of you understand this, and none of you are going to know what's really behind this. But I have to tell you what I'm going through, and I have to tell you why this channel is officially gone. I'm not going to delete any of the content that's there, but I'm going to cease to make new content. And anyone who has given me permission for a story, I do apologize. I really do. I apologize that I was unable to live up to my end of the bargain. But this is something that that needs to be done, because I'm more than just a channel. I'm a person, and so many YouTubers go through this. And I'm just a small channel, even. Like, I put too much time into this channel for it not to help me give her a better life. It only made her life worse. And I'm not sure which mic this is going through. I don't know if it's through this one or if it's through this one, but I don't care. I didn't even put any tags except farewell. I didn't put a description. I'm too tired. I had to get this video out of the way. It's been weighing on my conscience. I hope she watches it. I know that she's on the path that she needs to be on, and I'm on the path that she needs to be on. And I'm on the path that I need to be on. And I'm 100% sober. I haven't always been. Being sober makes it worse almost, I would think, because the pain. And you can see other people's pain. Like, I was so numb for so long, I couldn't see other people's pain. I'm going to tell you one final story. It's a story of the homeless man on the side of the road and the homeless man inside of my car. I was driving home from my mom shortly after this had happened. I had come home and she was gone on my lunch break. And I was frantic. I was panicked. I shouted at God. I screamed, why me? Why do I have to go through this hurt? Why? I couldn't get a hold of her. She left the only phone that we had. I ended up getting a hold of her, obviously. I go to my mom's house. I freak out there. I finally leave because I just can't be there. I'm just beating myself up so bad because I realize 99% of this was all my fault. And I'll say this. She did sleep with another man while we were technically still together. But I accept. I'm not mad at her for that. I pushed her to that, and you guys don't know what all I did. I was never abusive. I was verbally abusive, and it wasn't me. But I got that on my conscience. I got to let it out, and this is the best way to do that. I can tell all of you, and It helps get that weight off that much more. That's what YouTube's about. You're supposed to be able to be yourself, but you can't. Like, that's not what YouTube is anymore. It fucking weighs on you even more. But this is me finally using YouTube for what it's supposed to be used for. And I'm sorry if you're chatting in the chat. I'm sorry if you're a good friend. Like, I mean, I will still have my account. Like, if you're in the chat, I mean, I can still occasionally respond, but I can't make content, especially not in this state. And if I ever do get her back, I can't then, because I have to be there for her. I didn't spend enough time with her. We were together 3.5 years, and at least 2 of those I wasted. And I did some terrible things. But I was driving down the road after leaving my mom's house. I saw this homeless man. He's sitting there with his dog on the side of the road by, a local burger joint. He's sitting there, and, he's crying, the tears on his face. Like, I've seen people cry millions of times, but I've never been able to actually feel that emotion. Like, I could never look at a person and, like, feel what they feel. And all of a sudden I can, and it's scary because I already feel so much, but I'm feeling way, way more. And it's scary. I mean, and I don't really catch a lot of the happy emotions, Well, I did this morning. I was able to see her this morning, and I did catch the happy emotions. But I saw this homeless man, and he was crying. He's got his dog there, It's so hot. Like, we have a heat advisory. I'm still in my work clothes, for Christ's sake. I actually went back to work after realizing that she left, and I never even leave on my lunch break. But I did because I cared about her, and I wanted to make sure she was okay, because she's been having problems with her kidney stones and everything. And when I got home, she wasn't here, and it hurt. Like, I searched, I searched for her all around town just to make sure she hadn't just walked away with our dog, and on a walk or something, to scare me, left the phone on the counter. I didn't see all the objects missing throughout the house. I saw them later, and I never once was, like, truly mad at her, because I'm gaining a level of understanding that I always needed to have. And they say hindsight is always 20/20, and motherfucker, it is. Like, it sucks. And I had the most wonderful day with her today. It was better than any day we've had in our relationship. And then I let the other man come by and take her away, and they're on their way to California. She's supposed to be back in a month, and maybe that'll be enough time, but I know that she just needs a vacation. This isn't even about me. It's not about him. Everything is about her and what her needs. And if you go through a similar experience, respect her needs. Always respect her needs. There's a path that everybody has to go down, and sometimes it leads you back together. It might go all sorts of, you don't know how long it's going to take. It's not linear. But you just got to do what you got to do. You got to live. You can't take this pain that I have. Like, I know there's so many of you out there that have this same pain. You can't take that pain. And, like, again, I'm all over the place. I know I'm talking about the homeless man. I'm all over the place because I only have had 7 hours of sleep in 4 days. I've missed work twice. My boss he's a fucking amazing person, and he's going to help me get help. Not many bosses would do that, And I kept telling him I was going to try to make it in on both days. I'm going to be there tomorrow. I have to. But these 2 days I needed for self-reflection, shot at happiness, a lot of life lessons. And I stopped my car. I pulled into the burger joint. I sat there. I had my dog in the car. I rolled the windows up so he wouldn't be able to get out, but not enough to where, and I wasn't going to be gone long enough for it to hurt him. I'm against that, obviously. And he's a good boy. Like, I've had to spend so much more time with that dog than I did in the past, and it sucks that he has to be home alone with just my cats whenever I go to work. But I walked up to the homeless man, and I'm not one to approach people, and we're from clearly different walks of the world. and I'm just a kid. You know, this guy's he's at least almost 40. But I saw the pain in his eyes, and I felt it. And I walked up to him. I only had 30 cents. Actually, it was 29 cents, 24 cents in pennies, and 5 cents in a nickel. Not even really worth even giving, you know. But I figured, you know, every little bit helps. Like, I didn't have anything. I wanted to feel charitable. I wanted to feel something good in a world of bad. I wanted to see this guy, and I wanted him to feel good, you know. And so I gave him the money, and I walked up to him. I was like, "Hey, it's all I've got." And you know, I started to hand it to him. The dime dropped out. I jokingly said, "Oh, you don't want to drop that one. That's the only one that's the only silver one in the bunch." And I was like, "I know it's not much, but like I hope it helps. You know, I figure every little bit helps. Penny saved is a penny earned." And he's like, "This is the most I've gotten all day," and that hit me even harder. He said, "It's so hot. Everybody just keeps their windows rolled up. Nobody will even give them the time of day." And we always think, oh, there's some bum. There's some bum. They got there because of pain. Everybody gets where they get from pain. And I'm seeing this now. Like, if you have afflictions and you're in pain and you can't get past it, get help. Make sure it's the right help too. Really study the advice you're given. And so I asked him, does your dog have food? He says, about 3 days. And I still haven't, like, what I told him is, good, I'm going to put some dog food in my car, and the next time I see you, I'm going to give it to you. I haven't been to work since, so it doesn't matter that I didn't put the dog food in my car, but I'm going to put some dog food in my car. It's only going to be like a bowl. It's all I can spare at the moment. I'm very broke, and I still have to feed my own animals. I myself have barely been eating. My dog has barely been eating. I mean, he feels this. Like, everybody feels this. My siblings feel this. My parents feel this. Everyone that I have had to call upon in my hours of need to help redeem myself, to pull myself away from, not away from the sorrow. Like, I'm diving into it, okay? Like, I could easily grab a bottle of fucking whiskey, or I could smoke weed or something like that, and I could think that it's going to get rid of that pain. But the only thing that gets rid of that pain is just facing it and hoping for the best. And of course, therapy. You know, therapy never hurt anybody. It may have hurt some people, but it's worth a shot. So I wanted to share this story because I didn't want to just leave you guys in the dark. I'm in the dark, as you can tell. My kitchen light's on back there, but it's dark in here. The audio quality probably sounds like shit. I'm very different, I know. I've undergone some major life changes within just 4 short days. And it's enough to drive anybody mad. But I'm not. I'm just now getting clarity. And she needs more time to get the same amount of clarity. And I hope that it works out, and I'm gonna end up proposing to her when she comes back. I know that sounds sad. Like, I was the problem though. And I know that I'm also the solution. We can all be the solution. And I'm going to do things that I want to do for other people. Like, I want to extend the way that I want to help her upon other people. Just like I did with the homeless man. It may have only been 29 cents, but, you know, there's volunteer work, and there's so many things out there. Like, I just need to spiritually enlighten myself. And this channel isn't gonna make it through this. And I'm not sure if this is enough. I'm not sure if this is all that I need to say. I've just always been 100% honest with you guys, and I love you. I love every single one of you that has ever tuned in and that has ever gave me a like, everyone who subscribed, everyone who just made me feel a little better about the shitty person I was becoming. You guys didn't know, and I didn't either. I was blind, even in my realest of talks, which, even in those realest of talks, I still wasn't 100% real. I was still hiding behind myself. And that's what YouTube is these days. Everybody hides behind that face value. Fuck that. Just be yourself. And I wish I was a big enough channel that this mattered, and it would impact YouTube to truly help people, to help viewers. And it's just helping me get it off my chest. I'll probably only get 30 views. That's fine. The 30 people that view this, may think, oh, this guy's a whack job. Oh man, I feel sorry for him. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. If you want to pray for me, go ahead. You want to send your thoughts, you want to put your F's in the chat, do all those things. I'm not checking the chat. I don't have the drive. I barely, I go to sleep. Let me give you an example of the kind of person that I was becoming. So everybody gets mad. Everybody has quarrels with their spouse. It was getting to the point where every little thing, like a recent event, she spilled potatoes. When making mashed potatoes, she spilled potatoes into the sink because she was trying to strain it using the lid. I was on the phone with my mother, messing with this channel, and she had tried to get my attention. She had tried to get my attention to help her, because that was my job. That was my job in the making of the mashed potatoes. The mashed potatoes that only I ate, that she went out of her way to make for me. She burned herself in the process and spilt the potatoes, and she was like, ah, she exclaimed that she fucking hurt herself. And I went off. And she was, well, I didn't just jump straight to going off. I finally heard her, and she was like, I asked you for help, and I was like, well, I didn't hear you. You got to get my attention, blah, blah, blah. I just started going off on her. I hit the counter, the same counter that's right behind me back there. I hit the counter, and I hit the counter. I was on the phone with my mother. I used an angry voice. I was like, I don't even think I could do that voice anymore. It was evil. It's a voice that I've always gotten when I'm mad. It's my inner demons escaping. And I've used that voice on her too many times. And she had started to become scared of me. And then she stopped being scared. And I'm glad she did. Because it woke me the fuck up. A real man would never talk to his wife. She's not my wife, but a real man would never talk to his woman like that. And I would say words like bitch and cunt and whore, and I didn't mean them. They came out in moments of hurt and moments of unknowing. But it doesn't matter if you mean it or not. You still said it. She still hears it. It sticks with her more than, you could say, a million good things, a million compliments. And one of those words, what do you think is going to stick with her? What do you think her level of self-confidence is going to be? And I know I'm not the only person guilty of this. I've looked around and I see this same thing. My own landlords, I've seen this. I've seen it. I've seen so much hurt on so many faces. I go through stores and I see everybody's pain, and I see a couple interacting, and it's always the same toxicity that I was becoming. And I know that I need to get better, and we all can get better. And I know that sometimes it ends in suicide, and she was contemplating suicide. That's I at least told her not to do that. I always told her not to do that, and I at least told her that I loved her, and I would occasionally hold her. I'd never really, in the end there, I didn't get her to feel the love. She felt that love today, that revamped love. But I need even more time to rebuild upon the structure that I destroyed. And it happens so many times, and I hear, like, I see it in the news now. I see it in everyday faces, like the depression, the like, you wouldn't believe how much a house can haunt you. There's nothing in here but memories, but they're ghosts of my past. I have been sitting in here in a state of psychosis, crazier than any fucking no sleep story you could ever read. And I have been desperate. I continue to message her, and here's the thing, she she's still messaging me. Like, she still loves me, and she's just in a very hurt place, and like, there's other things going on. Like, she went through some terrible things with her parents, and we have an ongoing case to deal with that, and I'm helping her through that. And even though we're currently not together, she asked me, would I change my story? Would I make her look bad? Of course not. Of course I wouldn't do that. I know that she was always telling the truth, and I'll tell them that on the stand. Whether I get her back or not, you vow to be honest. So many people these days forget about honesty. I forgot about honesty. Like, I lied, these little white lies that I didn't want to hurt her, and they shouldn't have. And they're just these little white lies, but it grows and it grows, and it just cracks away. It erodes. And I didn't even think this video was going to be this long. Like, why am I doing this? You guys don't want to hear this. And those of you who need this, you need to hear this. You need that wake-up call that I had. You haven't lost her yet. You haven't gone through that. Wake the fuck up. She's not going to stay forever. Don't take it for granted. Just because she was your high school sweetheart and you've helped her through you've helped her through trials, you've still got trials ahead of you. There's always a line you got to walk. You can't go to the left, you can't go to the right. These things aren't black and white. It's not understandable without truly feeling. And you just gotta let the universe put things in motion. You gotta respond to it. You gotta look for the signs. I've been seeing the signs. Like, I got a fortune cookie that said this weekend. Okay, I was cleaning a car at work. It wasn't a fortune cookie. It was just a wrapper, or just the little banner that says the fortune. It was the actual fortune. It was underneath a floor mat in a car while I was vacuuming. Rather than running the vacuum over it because it was trash, I reached out and I picked it up. This was a couple days before all this happened. And it said, some time away this weekend will clear your mind. And I immediately thought, heck yeah, let's go, me and her. Like, I had started to try, too little, too late. I said, me and her, some time away, like, we'll go camping or fishing. We don't even really have our license. Let's just be rebellious. And then by the time I was going to do that, by the time that weekend hit, it all happened. And that fortune didn't mean time away together. It meant time away. And it had her birthday on the back of it. The first two numbers was her birthday. Like, if that's not a sign from the universe, I don't know what is. Today I was telling her, I was like, I believe. And I started to quote Martin Luther King, even though his speech was, I had a dream. I do believe that somewhere in that speech, the words I believe popped up. Or maybe there was some other speech that had I believe. I don't know. But I said I believe. And then my little sister has a Coke. It has those little wristbands, I peeled it off and said, I believe. I wore that. I have it back there as a reminder. And she told me that she could only remember the bad times. We had plenty of good ones. But we had enough bad times that's all she could remember. If you've had bad times, like, make sure that you're not taking your loved ones for granted. Whether it's your daughter, your wife, your father, mother, you've got these problems. It's only eating at you. Every single thing you do that is on your conscience, whether it's deep down inside, it's there until you work on it. And she told me that she'd had, she could only remember the bad times. She couldn't remember any of the good times. Any of them. You know what my ass did? I went to visit my cousin at work. A cousin that I hadn't been paying much attention to. And that's her cat right there. That's her cat that she can't take with her. He misses her. But I went to visit my cousin at work. He's been helping me a lot. I've been wasting his time on his breaks complaining about me. He doesn't really have any pain for me to help him through. He's 17, but he listens, and that's what I need. And I go in inside this time rather than walking around outside. We go in. He works at McDonald's, and he gets me some free food. I was able to stomach half. Like it was just a box of fry, or a large fry. I was able to, in the 6 hours I was there, I ate half of them, one at a time, because I just was so sick to eat. Been too sick to sleep. Been having nightmares about myself berating her. And I watch myself from the third person, even seeing the back of my own head as I yell at her in that voice. It sounds even more ominous outside of my body. And I just see that in the same nightmare every night. It hasn't been the same scene, but it's stuff that has really happened. It's like I'm walking back into my past, and I don't know what the hell's going on, Like, this is worse than any fucking drug I've ever tried. This is worse than any fucking beer I've ever tried, or liquor. And I can't do drugs or liquor. That's not an escape. Everybody thinks it is. Everybody thinks it helps them feel. No, you have to be true to yourself to feel everything. Everybody's had it wrong all along. Everybody that turned to the bottle. And I've turned to the bottle in the past. I almost died. And then I did have one beer. One beer with my dad. My first time ever buying beer. Hell, my first time ever buying alcohol in general was a bottle of Moscato that I still have in my fridge from 6 or 8 months ago, that I bought for me and her because she said she liked pink Moscato. And it was just something to try. We both just sipped on it a little bit at a time. And I would take swigs on it occasionally to make it through the days at work when I was working in factory jobs and working sales. I used substances like kratom to make sure that I was always on the positive side and didn't let life get to me. But when you do these things, you're just pushing those things further down, and when they come out, it's so much worse. You have these dreams I'm having. You have a girlfriend on her way, a 26-hour drive to California with another man. And he's literally a U 2.0. He hasn't been through everything with her, but he also hasn't hurt her. You find yourself in the worst of situations, and you find yourself selfish. You find yourself wanting her. You had her just this morning, and you let her go. It took some pleading on her part. It did take some pleading. And it took some panic attacks on my end, I started having a panic attack in front of her. At one point, I just let myself fall back onto the floor. I just fell because I just kept hugging her and getting in the way. I just fell like that. And I landed straight on the floor, partially on the mattress that we have on the floor in here. And that was tough. I did it, though. Like, I wasn't being dramatic. I just felt the wind, like I was just overcome. I had to fall. Sometimes you have to fall. And it's like being high. Like, I walked outside last night to get some fresh air upon my cousin's advice, a different cousin, older cousin. What I found out there was much scarier than anything I've ever seen in a movie, much scarier than anything in a scary video game, much scarier than anything that I've seen in any of the stories that I've written or that I've written or read. It was scarier than my demonic encounter when I was a little kid. It was terrifying. I walked out into a world that I did not know. It was so black outside, the streetlights barely illuminated anything. I couldn't see in front of me in my own yard. I made it out onto the road with my dog, and we walked, and I could barely see the ground in front of me. And it had this eerie horror movie sort of vibe, that yellowish tint, but it was black. It was black as could be. And we were walking, and I saw this guy. I was scared. I was so tired I wouldn't have been able to fight off an attacker if that event happened. I found myself fearing for my life just walking down the street in front of my house in my small town. And I know it was irrational, but it was just reflecting what I was feeling on the inside. I'm managing to collect peace and serenity, and we all need to do that. And we all need to take the effort and see everything before it's too late. And it's not too late for me yet. It's not. And I see that. Some people can't, and that's why they hit the bottle, because they don't want to put in the effort, or, or they try to take the even easier way out, the one that they think is easier. They put a gun to their head, or they slit their wrists, and they do it the bad way, They hang themselves from their ceiling fan. They drive their car into a tree. These are thoughts that I've had. I don't have a gun. I could do just about any other one of those other things. But you don't. You don't. You hold on, but you let go. You let go. I have a magnet on my fridge that my cousin got me just the other day that says, "Let go of that shit," or let all that shit go. And it says Buddha. And that's pretty much what he said, Like, that's pretty much what he said, just in millennial words. And I'm going to continue to fight, and that's why I can't have this channel, because it will get in the way of my development. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it, but I'm not going to miss the recording. Like, I love the podcast parts, like the live streams, especially the live streams with her. That's when it was real. That's when it was real. And if she comes back, the channel may end up being revived, but that's the only type of content I'll be able to do. We may even read. We may just talk about things, We may just talk about things. Politics, religion, what's going on in the world, what we went through. But I'm not sure if we will or not. I loved the podcast, so did she, but I don't know. There's certain things about the internet that just sucks you in. Like, I would refresh my channel page every second, waiting to see if I got a new subscriber or how many views I had. I was obsessed with the wrong thing. The moment she left, I quit looking at my channel. I quit refreshing it. I quit clicking into YouTube. I quit even listening to other horror narrators because she's the one that introduced me to it. I started refreshing my messenger, and for the first 48 hours, more like 50 something, for the first 50 something hours, I heard not a word from her. I called her family. I called different members of her family. And I talked to her grandpa. And he kind of knew everything, but he didn't tell me. He took a much different approach. He was kind of a. I mean, I like what he did, actually. It could have pushed me off the deep end, but what he did is he made me worry more. He made me think of the possibility. And I'm going to say, before she left, she told me about the other man. So I knew the other man existed, you know. I just didn't know that that's who she ran with. And this had been a long time coming. And, you know, she thought that it would just be a clean break. She thought that I wouldn't change, you know. She thought I would be mad, you know. It's something that I'm so good at, is being mad. But when it came down to it, in that moment, I wasn't mad. And she wanted me to stay home with her on Friday, but I had to go to work. And I found myself wishing I had stayed. And she said that if I had stayed, and, you know, she would have known that I wasn't mad and we would have been fine. Since then, just listen to it. He's just scratching at the door for no reason. He missed dessert. Ah, that sound is sadder than this whole stream. But no, I forgot where I was. And I had, like, no, I'm just saying I forgot where I was in this story, but I definitely forgot where I was in life. But her grandpa, you know, he was like, he was, you know, he played it cool, like he didn't know anything, he hadn't heard from her. And he, at one point, the very first time I talked to her, or talked to him, he said, you know, he answered the phone as if it was her calling. I said, oh, it's actually me. Have you heard from Jada? He said, no. Is she not there? I said, yeah, she's not. And he said, oh, give it time. She'll be back. And that was our whole phone call. And, you know, it hit. But the next phone call was after the 50 some hours, or after the 48. It was a full 48 hours. I'm sitting in a parking lot. I've got my little cousin and his little girlfriend. I've been complaining to them all day and, like, making them feel a hell of a lot better about themselves because of how down in the dumps I am. Like, low is the realest of the real. People think high is real. Low is the realest of the real. You start to experience things that you never knew possible. And it's maddening. But it needs to happen. Like, you epiphanize, you know, like you fucking, you destruct everything that was bad about yourself and you start to construct yourself. And it takes time. Like, you know, you got to rebuild that happy person. And the longer and longer you push things down, the more you have to break through. I'm only 21. I still have a lot to break through. If you're older than that, you got even more. You got to act. And so he says, when I'm talking on the phone with him, my cousin and his girlfriend went into the store. He was getting them drinks. He asked if I wanted anything. Told him no, I couldn't accept anything from him at that time. I've already taken so much from him by spending the whole day with him, and, like, every little thing that they said, I was like, oh, well, this reminds me of her, that reminds me of her, you know, everything, like, everything, you know. A fucking piece of paper could fall on the ground, and I'm like, oh my god, she used to draw on paper. You know, like, you don't realize how much you love people. And I call her grandpa because that day was a harrowing experience. It gutted me. And he made it worse. But it's got to get worse before it gets better. What he said to me was, well, you know, and I said I thought about filing a police report. He agreed. He said, she's not used to the world. He's worried. What if somebody had gotten her? You know? And he said, I should definitely do that at my earliest convenience, you know? and that he wants to make sure she's okay. Unbeknownst to me, he did know that she was okay. And then he goes further to add that the police won't rule out murder in the start of their investigation, and I will be suspect number one. So I'll have to turn over this and allow search to this and yada yada yada. And in that moment, I have this thought flash my mind. I'm like, does he think I killed her? He says, we all know that you didn't, you wouldn't do such a thing. But, and then like, he was just toying with my emotions, but it needed to happen. And like, I started to freak out. I called hospitals first. And then I got home and I was about to call to open the missing persons report. I was about to call, and her messenger was still signed in the background. It was still the other account on the phone. And it showed a message from Mom 1, which is her aunt, because her and her mom have so much bad blood between them. And her aunt was the only one that was there for her. I mean, her aunt was more there for her than her mom. But her aunt even hasn't been there for her. She hasn't believed her through her hardest of battles. And she lets her mom, the aunt lets her mom, the aunt lets Jada's mom bully her and say that she's not allowed over there, and she doesn't have a backbone. She's such a good lady. She's so kind-hearted, but she doesn't stand up to her sister, and in turn, she only hurts her niece more and more. And that's why her niece has to go to California. She can't just go to her aunt's house and have her aunt be yelled at and have her aunt have to go through that. But I told her, I said, you have to, when I finally got, okay, here. So the aunt had messaged her. I'm getting ahead of myself. The aunt had messaged her. So I clicked into it I just called. I didn't click onto the messenger or anything. I called her aunt. And her aunt said that she had just heard from her. I'd already contacted her aunt. She's like, yeah, I just heard from her. She said she's okay, but it's kind of weird. And then she started responding to my messages, and we ended up talking later that night, and we both missed each other so much, and there was just so much hurt. I felt it. Like, I heard it. And, like, all of the things that I have done, they've been rushing back to me. And I'm constantly feeling it. It's crippling, And she went through that crippling feeling just being in this very house while I was at work for longer than I've even gone through this. And it's sad. I'm so glad. I'm so thankful to the universe or to God, to whomever or whatever, that she didn't take her own life and that she's given herself a chance at life. She's vacating from everything that stresses her. She's trying something new that will most likely free up her conscience, or it'll free up her worries. And while she's doing that, I'm working on myself. And our paths just might meet again in a month. I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. Because right now, I'm just like that homeless man. You see this house around me? It's just a house. She was the only thing that made it to where I had a home. I'm buying this place. But now I'm doing it by myself. Our 3.5 years is officially over. We're still talking. We had one last love making session. It was the best we ever had. But that doesn't fix things. It was necessary. We both needed it. We both wanted it. But it doesn't make things right. What makes things right is time and trial and error. And you just got to walk the line. You got to figure out where that line is. There's a line in the sand somewhere, and you got to follow it. And the universe sends you signs. You know, you pray, you try to use the law of attraction, you know, because you don't know what really is guiding us through this world. But there's something. There's something. And I'm not even religious. I'm not even spiritual. But man, oh man, have I woke up. And I figured out, you know, that she just needed that vacation. I didn't want to let her go. I was coming up with alternate scenarios. I was telling her she needed to go to her aunt's house because her aunt loves her. But I wasn't realizing that her aunt wasn't even standing up for her like she needed to. And I told her, I said, you need to tell your aunt. Because I know this for a fact. You need to tell your aunt how you feel about how your mom just pushes her. Or how she just, she controls her. She's like queen, like queen of, oh, I don't even know what to call it. She just thinks that she can control her, and her aunt doesn't fight it. She was at her aunt's house for Christmas, and Jada's mother found out and called her aunt. And not too long after, her aunt brought her home. And she felt bad for letting her own niece stay in her house for a couple of days. And that's sad. That's really sad. She should never feel that. And her niece isn't the one in the wrong. She may be emotional, but she's not in the wrong. Her mother's in the wrong for never supporting her, and her aunt's in the wrong for never supporting her. They're not helping, and I didn't help either. I broke her down just as much as I built her up. I helped her through some tough times in the beginning, and then I put her through just as tough times in the end. And I see that now. And, the road ahead is going to be paved with blood, sweat, and tears, Lots of the latter. Probably lots of sweat, too. And I'm confident, actually. I'm more confident than I was when we were happy in our relationship. Back when I took her for granted, I don't take her for granted anymore. I realize that not everything's a constant. But if you fall off, you can get back up. And I just want to thank anybody who tuned in and anybody who sees this. Somebody loves you. I have lots of people, I have everybody I've turned to. I have a friend I hadn't talked to in forever. I had my cousin who I hadn't talked to in forever. I had my older cousin whom I hadn't talked to forever. I had all these people, and she has very few. Those people that are there for her weren't there for her. They constantly turn their backs. And I was one of those people. So you see why I can't do this anymore. I was one of those people. She only has a select number of people. And that's why this is the vacation that's necessary for her. Because this guy has nothing to do with those people and that hurt. And the place also has nothing to do with it. It's the perfect escape. It'll allow for perfect clarity. She's going to feel homesick. She's going to feel sad. She's going to, she's going to worry. She's going to worry about me because I'm in such a terrible state that I can't eat or sleep right. And I'm scared of myself, but I'm going to keep going. Like, I'm going to be weak physically, mentally, but I'm going to make it. Like, I'm not giving up. Suicide is never the answer. It's never the answer, and no matter how fucking scary things seem and how confusing they may seem, there is an answer. It's not always in plain sight. And just fight for what you believe in. Just say, I believe. Say, I believe. Ask the universe. Ask God. Ask for them to give you that sign. And damn me if you don't get it. You will. You'll get plenty of signs. And you'll get the power to interpret them. It's part of the sorrow. And it's almost like a superpower. It's crazy. A very depressing superpower. And that's why I'm seeing the sadness in everybody. I looked at my own little sister today when she came up and hugged Jada. She came up and she hugged her tight. And I could see the sadness in my little sister that doesn't belong in a 12-year-old. And I've talked about her in previous live streams, and I saw the sadness in her. I don't know what it is exactly, but it worries me. I see the sadness in my mother. I see the sadness in my father, whom are both single and have been with multiple partners that have broken both of them. They've gone through what I'm going through now multiple times, and they hit the bottle or tried meth or fucking PCP, fucking cocaine. You know, they tried these mind-altering fucking coping mechanisms thinking it was a solution. And they're getting older and they're worrying more and more. They've got their kids, but you know, they don't hardly have themselves. And it breaks my heart. I see so many people like them too. I see so many people like them. And I see my older cousin who's gone through this same thing I've gone through. Like, we're like two fucking peas in a pod. Like, we go through the same things, like, so many years apart from each other. You know, like, and we constantly, like, are there for each other, even though we may have our friendship on the back burner for years. You know, like, we're there when we need it because the universe sends us. And however you interpret that, whether it be God, the universe, they may be the same thing, you know? God may be all around us. And I'm not trying to get all Christian on you. I'm not trying to get all, you know, I'm just trying to be spiritual. And I don't want anybody to hurt themselves. I want to help all the hurt in this world. And I'm trying to help my own hurt. But it's going to take time because I have regret. I forgive her. I forgive myself even. That was the hardest part. The hardest part was forgiving myself for every indiscretion. And I had to let go. I had to let go of every angry thought that I could have. Like, when the guy came to pick her up today, I wasn't angry. I didn't want to go out and whoop his ass or something, you know? Like, I'm peaceful. Like, I'm at peace. It's a sad, sad peace. But it's like a precursor, you know? It's it's the storm before the calm, I guess. It's the sadness before the happy, you know? So sad peace before happy peace. You know? And some people just have the sad piece and it ends at that, you know? That sucks. That's kind of what my mom, my dad are at. They're at that end of the road, or they think so. They still have hope even. They still have hope. And I mean, and then you have the people that lose that piece by diving deeper into the bottle or pushing that needle into their arm one more time. And it's all gone. Their life is more gone than the life that I had is gone around me. And that is crazy. And I had those thoughts. I wanted to die. She's wanted to die at times. It's never the answer. If you know somebody that's going through this, look up the number for the suicide awareness. Like, I can't relay this information. Just Google it. I don't have a device in front of me. I only have this computer. Actually, I take that back. I need to relay this. I'm going to look up the suicide prevention. And that's not the only way to get help. You know, there's so many places. And my boss, you know, I've had to miss the past couple days, and he understands. The number is 1-800-273-8255. They're available 24 hours a day, and they'll help anybody in need. 1-800-273-8255. I haven't called that hotline. I didn't need it. Some people will, though. You know, or maybe I was right on the edge, and maybe I should have called because I was like tipping. You know, it's like you're walking on a fence, and you could fall either way. You could fall either way easily. But you know, like I said, I've missed yesterday and today. I've missed work, and I've called. You know, I've been honest. I've told my boss, you know, and I planned on coming in on both occasions, both days, at least for part of the day. And today I called him back at the end of the day, and I said, I'm sorry I couldn't make it for my shift. I know we only have one more hour left of the day. Do you want me to come in? He said no. And, you know, I cried to him. I told him everything. And I cried. Like, I've kept crying to him. And he told me, well, with what you're going through, if you need help, I've got hookups. And my brain is like, what? What do you mean you've got hookups? I don't need drugs. I don't need women. So I just said, are you talking about a psychiatrist? Fucking therapist? Whatever. You know, and he said, yeah. And I was like, I mean, I made a Facebook post about that. Yeah, I do want help. You know, I made a Facebook post, and somebody was telling me this place that's a little further from my house, but it's income-based, so I would definitely be able to get it at a price I can afford, which would have been free, because that's how fucking broke I am. You know, but he said, you know, he's got hookups, and he cares enough to you know, to share that with me. I'm just his employee. I've only been there for a month and a half, and I've missed 3 days already. One of those days was the kidney stone day, and then the other two were these two. I had very good reasons for missing, but I regret it. I regret missing. I regret not being there and helping the people in the shop, and I'm very sorry to them for that. I am. I'm very sorry. And I'm going to tell them that tomorrow when I go back. He told me the first time I talked to him, he said, this is all hard, I know, but it's going to be harder without a job. And I was immediately like, oof, you know, like, without a job. But I knew, like, I couldn't just lay down and go to work, you know, like, I couldn't just go to work. I need the money, but I couldn't. I had to fight a little bit more. I had to let my intentions be known. And I'm still coming out scattered, and I'm still not her only, you know, like, I am the only option, to be honest. I'm the only option. But the vacation is the only option for this point in time. And him saying the job thing, you know, it hurt. But today, he said what he said, and it uplifted me so much. And he said, but you better be here tomorrow, or you are going to be replaced. And he cares, you know, like, his biggest pet peeve is attendance. Like, he hasn't missed 5 days in 15 years. Damn, I wish I could do that. But he was also a workaholic. I bet he knew where I was coming from. I'm not a workaholic at work, but I'm a workaholic with my channel and with lots of other things. And he worked so many hours, he didn't have time for family. I bet you he went through something just like this. And I felt it. I was like, man, feeling other people's emotions is so weird. Like, why? Why do I suddenly have this understanding? You know? And I haven't even felt what some of them have felt. But I can see it. I can see it in their eyes. I can see it in how they walk and talk and hear it in their voice. I can see it all. And I know that some of you are going through so much shit too. And I love you guys. Somebody loves every one of you guys. Everybody should love everybody, but that's not how it works. There's a lot of negativity, but it's not all bad. And I just want to thank you for letting me sit here and rant. I want to say this is goodbye.